I have been called a lot of things in my life, a great number of things. Some of them have actually been pleasant. But never until I guess it was Friday was I called a stock Republican. That might be the rudest thing anybody's ever said about me. Tony Katz today. What is going on with you? 833-468-8669, 833 got Tony. That's how you get to be a part of the show. Live streaming on the youtube.com/Tony Katz, or on Twitter X, Tony Katz, Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. Smoking the Monte Cristo Relentless right now. Good cigar for the show. This all goes back to an appearance with Sean Spicer, who I had on the show last week, and I appeared on his show last week, and I like Sean a lot. I have been very appreciative of the kindness and the outreach and everything else. We were having a conversation about this very idea of affordability. The affordability conversation now taking hold amongst the political right. Look what Mamdani did, Zohran Mamdani, the mayor-elect in New York, about affordability. We got to be talking about affordability. Well, yeah. But more to the point, something we've been saying here from the beginning. Tariffs or taxes. I apologize to no one, including the president, for noting this fact. I'm not angry with the president. I think that this overarching tariff policy concept is wrong. I believe targeted tariffs are smart. I believe tariffs as tactic are just fine. Tariffs as policy, I think, are a big hot mess. And every conversation of, look at all the money that's pouring into the Treasury, it's our money. We're paying it, not these foreign nations. They're not. We are. We're paying the tariff. Now, the president does have some things on his side regarding the tariff conversation, and that is it hasn't brought an end to things the way people said it would. We've managed it. It's kind of amazing, and it should be noted. We've managed the tariffs. I will say, when I hear President Trump say, you know what, we're going to give everybody who isn't a high net worth individual, I don't know what that number is yet, $2,000 from these tariff dollars, I say, wouldn't it have been better if I didn't have to pay the tariff to begin with? Wouldn't that have been better? I don't want my government being benevolent and giving me money back. Don't get me wrong, I want money back. But I'd rather you didn't take it from me at all. That would be being more benevolent, which is also not a way I should think about my own government being an American. Tariffs as tactic makes sense. You want to punch China right in the mouth? Fine by me. I'm all with you. As a matter of fact, I'll help you train to do it. Make sure we've got the proper rotation. We're utilizing the hip and getting all the energy in there to hit Xi Jinping square. Hit him so hard, he'll actually think he is Winnie the Pooh. I'm down for it. I'm here for it. I need tariffs against Switzerland? What the hell? I just want to watch. Some things we don't need. Well, we've got a trade imbalance. And? Well, we buy more from them than they buy from us. Does it matter? Well, they're taking advantage of us. Whoa. The question is, does it matter? Are you okay with it? Another way to say this is there something you get out of it that's actually beneficial. So if they're taking a little bit of advantage of you over here, that's okay because they're doing something over there. Maybe they're getting a better deal on us than one or two things, but maybe what they're getting a better deal on, they're then reinvesting in us. And isn't that better off? Don't we want that? Not everything is an apples to apples conversation. Maybe we're giving up apples, but we're getting bananas, and oh, holy hell, could we use some bananas? Why can't we look at things like that? Isn't that a proper way to engage these economic issues? I don't like tariffs as a policy, and tariffs are taxes. And I will say out loud that people who won't admit to this are wrong. They're wrong. They're taxes. Let's leave that there. In this conversation about affordability, what I have stated is some things do cost too much, and it's a real problem. It's a real issue. But on the subject of tariffs and on the subjects of costs, I have said that the Trump administration needs to explain to people why these things are happening. They need to explain what the long-term game is. In the end, the American people want to follow. They want to be involved in a fight that will make their lives better and their kids' lives better and America's lives better. Or their kids themselves in America, right? We could say it that way. You got to get them involved. You got to bring them in. You got to be able to explain it. And this is what I want from Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. And I'm bothered by the fact that he doesn't engage in this and wants to tell us that everything's fine. Everything isn't fine. This was the conversation that happened on Sean Spicer's show. This is what God said. This comes from Steve Bannon's War Room. He's playing this clip from Sean Spicer's show. Listen.
I'm willing to go all the way with it and set people ablaze in this conversation. But we should be at least at the start not insane. This is an off-year election in blue states. There was built-in advantages for the Democrats that were running. As for us missing messaging, I will take this and not put it on the consultant class. I'll put this on the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who wants to keep telling people that everything is going great. It isn't. It's not true. It's not real. And thank goodness I heard President Trump finally address this yesterday, a subject, at least on radio, we've been addressing for months. Beef prices are out of control. Egg prices are down. Gas prices are down, but you still feel like everything costs too much. Tariffs do increase the cost of things. And the president may love the word tariff, the most beautiful word in the world. It still costs us more, and we feel that it costs us more. So the reality is you have to be addressing those concerns and explaining why you're engaged in tariffs, why these things are happening. That's the stuff that matters. You can't just say everything's fine. That's Janet Yellen saying that inflation's nothing more than transitory, which was crap. It was a lie. It was a fraud. And when you go down that road, you win the stupid prizes.
I apologize for nothing. I said what I said, and I stand by it. You got to explain it to people. You got to bring them on board, but things are still too high. Steve Bannon, who admittedly I haven't spoken to in a great number of years. The last time I spoke about Steve Bannon, I said anybody calling Steve Bannon an anti-Semite is out of their heads. You can say a lot of things about Steve. Anti-Semite, the most ridiculous thing I have heard in a good long time. This was a conversation that came up a couple years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I think before he went to jail. It was ridiculous. I know people who despise Steve Bannon. They're like, yeah, that's just silly. Because it was. Because it was. Here's Steve.
Okay, that's Tony Katz. And remember, Tony is a talk radio host in Indianapolis, Indiana, and a standard stock classic Republican. This is why he doesn't want to blame the consulting class, who is a lot. The whole thing about the campaign the other day was it wasn't that you lost in blue states. We get that. It was the scale of the loss and across the country and these districts and, quite frankly, state assemblies and other things that we had been shifting dramatically. Trump, particularly New Jersey, it's points on the buy. It was consulting class going back with Citrielli, talking about tax cuts and talking about size of government, just issues that are not top of mind right now with residents, and of course the disaster of Glenn Youngkin and the destruction of the Republican Party in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which is 100% on his shoulders with terrible candidates, no message, just a joke, but no effort. But and of course, Tony being a standard stock Republican, they hate tariffs, right? Because they got this, they're the free trade part of the Republican Party that it was kind of turfed out with President Trump in 16.
Now, I did not say I was in love with the consultant class. On this show, repeatedly, I have explained that the consultants are a serious problem. I have talked about Ron DeSantis, $200 million plus of a war chest. And that guy couldn't get a first place finish in Iowa or New Hampshire. And these consultants are going to get rehired places. I didn't say buy into the consultants or believe the consultants, Steve. I never said it. You want to talk about a misread? I would argue, Steve, you did it purposefully, which I don't know why. My argument is Scott Bessent is stronger and tougher and smarter than the consultant class, and he should be the one addressing these issues directly and helping President Trump with the messaging that is so incredibly necessary here. I think that the consultant class was really there to help Chitterelli and not get some points on the buy? What the hell are you talking about, Steve? Steven, what the hell are you talking about, son? Of course that's a problem. Of course it's a problem. But I expect more from Scott Bessent, who I think is the smartest guy in the room. I want him to be stronger. I want him to be tougher. I want him to be more focused. I want him to help lead the messaging so everybody else gets the message. He understands. He's smarter than the rest. He was an inspired pick from Donald Trump. And he isn't doing what I think he can do, which is the inspired work of sharing the story. Also, all of a sudden we don't like free markets? Is that the difference between the conservative and the populist? Okay. Did I say we should be abused? Did I say we should accept business as usual? No. I asked the question of whether or not tariff as policy is a good idea, and the answer is it's not. We should be focused. We should be engaged with this over here and with this over here, not some blanket policy of nonsense tariffs. It's a tax on us, and I'm not interested in taxing us. And if that's the populist view of making something better, well, then I think, Steve, with all due respect, that view wholly sucks. Let's do something smarter. Let's do something better. But I will tell you, stock Republican. Oh, that is just cold-hearted. That is cold-hearted. I can think of things you could call my mother that would be less insulting than stock Republican. That's just mean, Steve. Mean. But you got it wrong, man. You got it wrong and you have it wrong. And it's about making this argument that somehow one can't be focused and tough. The key lesson of Trump is that one must fight. Because if you allow these people to say there's only one way to do things, and they're the only ones who know the way to do things, then, dear gosh, you're going to lose. When we talk about the shutdown and the Democrats caving, the great story from here, and the thing that I think can absolutely change a mentality, is that Republicans didn't capitulate when everybody thought they would in a shutdown situation. Everyone thought Republicans would, and they didn't. You're like, well, oh my goodness, maybe the lesson is finally being learned. Rather than trying to pretend you are Trump, doing a cheap imitation of Trump, how about you just stand firm on a philosophy and a principle? I think you can engage good trade deals without a universal tariffs. I didn't say you couldn't use tariffs as a tactic. Everything you said there, Steve, is wrong. Everything, not a little bit of it, but a whole stinking bunch of it. And for the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, I'd love to have you on the show and have this conversation directly. I will not shy away, sir. I'll tell you what I think, and you can tell me why you disagree. Maybe you do agree with me. Maybe you have got serious reason to disagree with me, and you've got things that I haven't thought about. I've already stated, conceding the point, that on the economics, you're smarter than I am, but tariffs are taxes, and if we can't agree to that, well, then we've got a serious problem. But I'm listening. The audience is listening. We're all right here. Love to have you on, Secretary Bessent. Love to talk to you about these things. When you put yourself into the world, and you put your ideas into the world, and you are willing to engage, you have to accept the fact that some people aren't going to agree with you. And when you do it the way I do it, where I voted for Trump 3 times. Yet I still reserve the right to disagree. I accept the fact that there are going to be people who come at me and say, you're not loyal, you're not this, you're not that. Allow me to define the loyal thing for you. I did not vote for President Trump out of loyalty to him. I voted for President Trump out of what was best for my children and me and America. What I want is the job done. The loyalty goes the other way. It's not me to President Trump. It is President Trump to me, the voter, me, the American. And I believe actually that President Trump sees it that way. The one thing I know about that man, and he has said that quite clearly, he doesn't mind a tough question. He just wants it to be fair. And I think my commentary is more than fair. And I apologize to no one. And Steve, anytime you want to talk, man, I'm right here. But stock Republican, that's just downright chilly. It's a load of crap. But damn, is that cold. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today.